The incident occurred a few years ago, but its impact lingered, especially with the festive season approaching. In a tight-knit community, relationships held weight, and every action carried ripples. My sister-in-law, B, and I had a decent rapport, but her sister, L, was a different story entirely. L's duplicity knew no bounds. She played the role of a confidant, only to manipulate situations. She pretended to share camaraderie, prompting discussions about our shared familial struggles, then twisted the narratives, falsely implying I was maligning both our families. This led to friction between me and my brother, necessitating our mother's intervention. It was a tumultuous time, to say the least. Fast forward a few years, and the scene shifted. My brother and B now had two adorable children, while L had ventured into a relationship with a wealthy partner. Their joint purchase of an ostentatious house outside town signaled newfound affluence. With their inaugural Christmas in the lavish abode, hosting lunch became their grand showcase. Predictably, my boyfriend and I were not on the guest list. However, the invitation extended to my brother, B, their boys, and our mom. Lunch was scheduled for 2 p.m. after everyone's arrival at 1 p.m. Seizing an opportunity to weave my subtle retaliation, I messaged my brother and our mom. I proposed an impromptu gathering, a light Christmas breakfast at our place, before they headed to L's. Envisioning a joyful morning together, opening gifts and relishing some delightful bites, they accepted the invitation. My boyfriend and I relished the art of culinary craftsmanship. For this clandestine morning festivity, we curated an extravagant spread: waffles, pancakes, fruit salads, pastries, French toast adorned with sizzling bacon, complemented by freshly brewed creamy coffee and tangy, fresh squeezed orange juice. The kids, in their unrestrained excitement, devoured the offerings with wild abandon. Even the adults, trying to maintain composure, couldn't resist and contributed to the delightful carnage. The aftermath was sweetly satisfying. Later, my mom called, chuckling as she recounted that L had meticulously prepared a lavish lunch, a feast worthy of admiration. Yet, due to our early feast, nobody harbored much appetite. As a result, much of the opulent food lay untouched, adorned on L's pristine, expensive plates, through the entire afternoon. The mental image of everyone gingerly shifting their lunches around, feigning interest in the bountiful spread, was a delightful victory. I used to be in a gaming group, traditional, books, dice, and miniatures, with a guy we'll call Stench, because no matter how many showers he took, he reeked. Anyway, Stench was a serious geek and Catholic, which made his gaming way problematic for him. He was in his 20s, a virgin, living with his parents, completely under their control. He also had several small circles of friends, 99% online, which were absolutely never allowed to intersect. Well, I stopped by one day to borrow a book. He was on the phone with a girl from one of those other groups. She heard me, liked my voice, and pressured him into giving me the phone. We hit it off, talking frequently, then every night, eventually doing over-the-phone roleplay, not even close to intimate. As things usually happen, she slipped and told Stench what we'd been doing. He lost his temper. She informed me that he had contacted our weekly game master, my then best friend, who approved that anything Stench did was official in our weekly game. This meant that any retribution I chose to inflict was also part of the official game. He did this knowing full well what a vindictive, very imaginative, complete jerk I am. Oh boy. Our DM was a malicious person. Stench had cursed the character I was using, one I'd been using for a long time, whom I'd put a lot of work into, with some utterly disgusting and horrific diseases, utterly incurable. So, I contacted a very old friend, and hired his character that he'd been running since the late 70s, this was 97-ish, to do a hit job. See, Stench would only play a special race of lawful good-winged elves called the Varials. In our campaign universe, he had protected them by having them develop on their own world, which was then deposited into a pocket dimension which only a Varials could access. The plan played out thus: my hired elven wizard has a spelljammer ship. He uses a time travel spell to go back to the dawn of the Avariel race, before they crawled out of the muck. Before their planet was in its pocket dimension. He takes the ship in very close to the system's primary, i.e. their sun, and cast a compound spell, enlarge, haste, age to destruction, aka supernova, on the star, then time travel reversed back to when he'd left. I then called up the lady and told her what I'd done, with a message to pass along to Stench. I wiped out the Avarials so completely, not even their gods are around to mourn their passing. He called me up the next day, screaming and crying, saying he was going to come to my house, break the door down, and burn it down. I reminded him that he's seen me shoot, I'm ex-army infantry, and that I thought Catholics frowned on suicide, then I hung up. I called up our DM, told him what I'd done, he was even impressed with my brutality, and verified that it was official. It was. This deleted not only Stench's characters, but every action they'd ever committed. Let's just say several favorite characters who died due to Stench's blunders came back, among other effects. He was also forbidden to use that race ever again, as they were wiped from existence, and only my character remembered them, and there was no way I was going to wish them back into existence. Stench Rage quit the group and never spoke to any of us ever again. Unfortunately, his buddy in another state, who was supposed to be reloading my rifle ammo, instead sold my brass, so, as revenge for that, I took some inappropriate material VHS tapes my mom's then BF had salvaged from his job as maintenance at an apartment complex, boxed them up with a bow, drove down to where Stench's buddy lived, and mailed the box to Stench, care of his hyper-Catholic parents, with a note that said we had a little tiff and broke up, so I thought Stench would want these back.
In the year 2022, after finishing college, I embarked on the exciting journey of moving into my very first apartment. Initially, life was a breeze, affordable rent and friendly neighbors made it a cozy haven. Little did I know that tranquility would shatter on one fateful night. Returning home, I encountered a German cockroach perched in my kitchen sink. Panic surged through me, my heart raced as I scoured every nook and cranny, uncovering a nightmarish infestation that sent me into tears. The place was overrun, a disturbing reality for someone with an extreme aversion to bugs. Determined to address the issue, I promptly called my landlord, expecting swift action. She seemed as shocked as I was, asserting this was an unexpected scenario for her complex. Promising a speedy resolution, she assured me that pest control would be summoned. Relief washed over me. On the day of the pest control visit, I awaited their arrival with a barrage of questions, seeking solace in their expertise. What followed was not solace but dismay. To my disbelief, the pest control team disclosed that my landlord had specifically instructed them to treat only my unit, neglecting the 19 other units in the building. Their attempts to reason with her proved futile, she was adamant. This half-hearted attempt at a solution was appalling. The infestation spiraled in the ensuing weeks, infiltrating every aspect of my life. Eating, sleeping, finding a moment's peace, all became near impossible tasks in my own sanctuary. Frustrated, I reached out to my neighbor across the hall. Inquiring about a roach problem, I received an affirmative response. "How long?" I asked. "Since 2019, when I moved in," came the chilling reply. It dawned on me the landlord had knowingly allowed this infestation to fester for years. A surge of righteous indignation spurred me into action. Swiftly, I reported her to the Department of Health, exposing her neglect and code violations. Their shocked reaction echoed my disbelief. Promptly, fines were issued, and a deadline was set for fumigating the entire building. The wheels of justice turned rapidly. The pest control company returned, this time to tackle the entire building. And so, as my lease drew to a close, I departed, leaving behind the legacy of hefty fines and a landlord forever haunted by her negligence. Good riddance to the cheap, negligent landlord. I may have moved on, but the lessons she learned won't be forgotten in a hurry. I remember the day vividly. It was nearing the end of the pandemic, and things were starting to look up. I had just paid off my trusty old truck, and suddenly, the dealership sent me a tempting letter. A trade-in offer and a loyalty discount. It piqued my interest. Plus, I was contemplating an upgrade to a slightly larger truck. So, with a glimmer of excitement, I ventured down to the dealership, filled with visions of a new vehicle dancing in my head. But alas, fate had a different plan. I was introduced to Super Sales Guy. Our interaction commenced with me expressing my desire for a new vehicle, but Super Sales Guy decided to lead me on a tour of every dilapidated, used vehicle on their lot. After steering him back to the showroom, I finally narrowed down my choice: a sleek new truck, complete with the features and color that appealed to me. Negotiations ensued, and I managed to haggle the price down a notch, leveraging my trade-in and the loyalty discount. The truck I wanted wasn't readily available locally, so Super Sales Guy arranged to have it shipped in from another dealership. An inevitable but expected security deposit was required, and then the unexpected happened. Super Sales Guy asked for my insurance details. "Why?" I inquired, my curiosity piqued. "I'll call them and get the new truck added to your insurance," he confidently replied. Now, insurance is one thing I take seriously. The thought of allowing someone to mess with my policy without my explicit consent was a no-go. I explained this, making it clear that I'd handle the insurance once I had the necessary details. Cut to the following Monday, and I received a call from an unknown numbered Super Sales Guy. Urgent and insistent that I contact my insurance company immediately. "Why?" I probed. "Because I called them and they need your permission," was his explanation. The conversation seemed to end, or so I thought. Before dialing my insurer, I overheard him mutter something offensive about the insurance lady. That set my nerves ablaze. What was going on? Anger and curiosity collided within me, leading me to call my insurance company. The rep informed me of an unsettling call from someone demanding changes to my policy in a rude and irrational manner. I assured her it wasn't me and made the necessary alterations, vowing to rectify this injustice. Realizing Super Sales Guy hadn't ended our call, I heard him laughing and talking on the other line, seemingly oblivious. Furious at his audacity, I sped down to the dealership like a man possessed. Walking straight to his desk, I confronted him about his earlier comments, unaware that our exchange would escalate into a showdown. He greeted me casually, unaware that our conversation had continued. "Hey buddy, your truck isn't ready yet." "Who you calling a B-word?" I retorted loudly, leaving the room full of customers and staff gawking at us. With the evidence right in front of him, he faltered, trying to defend himself but inadvertently admitting to his transgression. The manager intervened, attempting to defuse the situation, but I was far from done. Negotiations ensued, and I managed to secure a remarkable deal for my truck, alongside a public apology from Super Sales Guy. In the end, I couldn't help but feel a sense of victory, albeit with an unresolved question lingering: what had led to this bizarre encounter? It was an unforgettable experience, one that taught me to always stand my ground, especially when someone confronts you with "who you calling a B?"
Am a black male, 16 years old, 6 feet 2 inches, and weighing around 294, and I can lift/squat around 140 on a good day. The dude in question was a white guy, 17 years old, and with relatively the same build as me, but he's like 5 feet 9 inches, and we go to the same high school. Now with that out of the way, let's get to the story. I'm very timid despite my large size. After I reached middle school and got really tall for my age group, so people stopped fighting me or bullying me, or at least to my face, so I didn't have to fight for 5 years straight. Cut to March, I'm in my weightlifting class and my classmate, who we will call Ray, starts acting weird. He's trying to get me to slap box with him, and when I say no, he slaps me. It catches me off guard because nobody hit me, let alone in the face, for a long time. It barely hurt, but I was shocked enough to get hit 5 more times before I realized he wanted to slap box. I'm stupid, I know, and I tell him I'm good, but he persists. I try to slap him, but he dodges and hits me again, and again, and again. So I raise my left hand, he dodges, and I pop him with my right. The weight room starts dying with laughter because he wanted to stop after I hit him. I was confused because I didn't think I hit him that hard, and he told me the next day he woke up with a bloody nose. Cut to September, he keeps slapping me randomly to try to get me mad enough to slap him back. And one time actually hurting me by hitting me in the neck. After 3 weeks, I decide enough is enough. So I start a conversation with him at lunch. Before I continue, hey Ray, some more backstory. I was bored one day and was slapping my balloon I had for my birthday party months before. I found out that if I slapped it when my arm was tensed up, I would do a ton of damage. But if I fully relaxed my arm before slapping, I would cause a small slit in the balloon, making it pop. These Walmart balloons were months old, so take this with a grain of salt. We can choose to have lunch inside or outside. I walked to Ray and slowly took of my book bag so I could fully relax my right arm. And before it even touched the concrete, I popped him on his side of his face. The lunchroom goes silent and he says, "Op, what the F? Why did you slap me?" I shrug. He starts walking closer to me and I jokingly start stuffing my mouth with my lunch, mini corn dogs. He says, "You think this is funny?" I keep eating while backing up. You are most likely wondering why I'm stuffing my face. It's because I was trying not to laugh when the side of his face slowly went red and left an almost perfect handprint. Cut to last week. I dropped my spicy chicken sandwich and I was bummed out because I was looking forward to it. He starts messing with me in the locker room by moving my stuff and I tell him to knock it off, but he says, "Make me." He ends up dropping my water bottle and now I'm pissed because I think he broke it. And without thinking, I lie, "Dude, I might have a spare in my bag. You better hope it's not broken." He's checking my water bottle and the way he was standing made his neck exposed to the cold air of the locker room. I calming relax my hand, stand behind him and think, fine, it'll make him stop. Maybe it's because I was already made that weak over personal stuff, or it's because he damaged my water bottle. Maybe my fat ass was just upset over the chicken sandwich. But hey Ray, something I do know. I whipped the shit out of the back of his neck. The locker room had an echo and Ray held the back of his neck, and as even though he looking like he was screaming, I didn't hear a single sound leave his mouth for 10 seconds. And I fall to the floor laughing because I never hit someone so hard in my life. I was trying to hit him with a half my strength, but in my anger I must have hit him with way more by mistake in my anger. I knew if he hit me it's gonna be a punch, but then he tells me, "OP, you hit like a bee, that S ain't hurt." And then he turns to my friend, and my God, his neck had a red rectangle, and when he pretended to leave I started cracking jokes with my friend, me saying, "Oh my neck, my pimp hand strong, ain't it?" And then mid-joke I felt the coldest chill and dodged out of instinct and feel the wind of his hit. I turn around to him and he says, "Damn, I'll get you back." He later told me the next day he was near tears because it hurt so bad. The sound was more close to a leather belt than it was to a pop balloon. I kinda want to name it now. He indeed got me back later that day on the way to the bus, but he called a timeout and has yet to hit me. Normally when he hits me I'm okay, but when I hit him, only 3 times by the way, he has to call a timeout while he recovers. This has been the longest time he hasn't hit me and I'm living happy.